I charge service businesses a few $1,000s a month for AI agents that take me a day to build, and I'm going to show you the exact process. So here's the problem. Every roofing company is bleeding money because they miss calls. The owner's on the roof, the crew's in the trucks, the phone rings, no one answers, and that call goes to the next company in the search results. That's a $10,000 job gone. Welcome back, I'm Adhiraj, and in this video I'm going to walk you through building a fully automated roofing voice agent using Vapi and n8n. This agent picks up on the first ring, asks the correct qualification questions, determines if it's an emergency, checks your actual calendar, and books inspection appointments automatically. When you finish this tutorial, you'll have a complete roofing receptionist that works 24/7 for your company or any contractor you want to deploy for. And here is the beautiful part. This is not theoretical. This workflow is already handling real roofing calls right now. Alright, so let's start over in Vapi. Go ahead and let's create a new assistant, and you can call this roofing agent. Let's stick with the blank template and click Create Assistant. Now over here for our model, let's use 4.1 mini. And we use this just because I've tested pretty much all of them. And it's fast, it's cheap, and it's smart enough to handle roofing qualification without overthinking it. Now turn on Assistant Speaks First. It should already be set as default for you. And this is critical because you want the agent picking up immediately and saying something like, "Thanks for calling. This is Riley or Sarah. How can I help you today?" Okay, so there should be no dead air, no awkward pause, so the caller isn't left wondering if anyone's there. Just an instant pickup that really feels like a real receptionist answered. Okay, so now we're going to go right here to the prompt section, and if you're not in my school community, it'll be right here where you can copy paste it, and it'll be called Master Prompt Roofing. Go ahead and open that up and just Command A and paste that in. Okay, and like I said over here, when the agent picks up, we need to tell it what to say, and that's right here. So just copy paste this line, throw it in here. So what's happening here, right? This prompt is your entire roofing playbook in one file. It teaches the agent how to identify leak types like active leaks, storm damage, missing shingles, flashing issues, valley problems. It even teaches the agent how to gauge severity, whether this is like a call us Monday or we need someone there in 2 hours. It also teaches the agent how to determine if an inspection is needed or if this is a simple repair quote, and how to handle active emergency situations like water intrusion during a storm. And now let's go ahead and publish this. You want to constantly be publishing so it saves it. And once you publish this, once it finishes, you actually have a fully functioning roofing receptionist. Can't really do anything yet, and it's like a brain with no arms, but you can actually talk to it. So if you click Talk to Assistant over here, you'll be able to have a full conversation with it, okay? But as I said, it's like a brain with no arms. Let's fix that, all right? So let's add some real functionality to this. And we do that with tools. And let's go over to tools. And so before I actually create these tools, let me explain what each tool actually does and how the AI knows when to use it. Okay, we're gonna have 3 tools, and I'm gonna go ahead and create these tools, but just keep these in mind as I explain the concept. All right, so we have the qualify tool, the booking tool, and the availability tool. Okay, now each tool has parameters that the AI needs to fill out, and the AI learns what to put in those parameters from your system prompt and from the conversation with the caller. So if we go back to our system prompt, right, over here, we make it pretty clear what tools to use. In fact, we make it crystal clear. So tool usage order, right? And so think of this like a form. So the AI is having a conversation, and when the caller says certain things, the AI recognizes, okay, I have enough information to fill out this form now, and then it's going to fire the tool. Okay, so let's go back over to tools and create tool. And for our first tool, okay, for our first tool, it's going to be called Qualify Roofing. And this tool basically fires when the caller describes their roofing problem. So go to Master Qualify Roofing, and you can paste this in here. So go down to parameters, JSON, and just paste that in there. Apply, error should go away, and save. There we go. So these are the parameters that we need. It's the roofing issue type, and this could be a leak, missing shingles, storm damage, basically whatever the caller is describing. The next one is issue severity, and this could be from minor to moderate to severe to emergency. And then we have the property type, which is residential or commercial. So now here is how the AI fills these out. In the system prompt, as I said, you told the AI to basically ask questions like, what is happening with your roof? So let's go over here. Let's actually pull this up. So right here, what's going on with your roof? Walk me through it, right? So in your system prompt, you literally told it what to ask. And when the caller answers, what's happening behind the scenes is the AI extracts the information and maps it to those parameters. So if the caller says, yeah, like my water is dripping through my bedroom ceiling and it started last night during the storm, the AI automatically fills out. Now back here in tools to qualify roofing, these are our three parameters, right? So the AI automatically maps roofing issue type to active leak. It's going to map issue severity to severe based on what the caller just said. And it's going to assume, or it'll ask, actually, it should ask the property type, which would be residential, right? So that's kind of what's happening. And the AI does this extraction automatically because you defined these parameters and you taught it what to listen for in the system prompt. Okay, so let's move on now to the second tool, which is availability roofing. And this tool basically fires when the caller asks about scheduling or when the AI thinks it's time to book an appointment. So master availability, and straight up just copy paste this in here. And yeah, this is going to be in the school community. Apply, save. All right, and then individual search date. So here's how this might work, right? So I give you an example. The caller might say like, "Can someone come out tomorrow?" or "I need someone here Friday." The AI converts that into an ISO date string. So if today is April 10th and they say tomorrow, the AI is gonna fill in the search date with something like this. Okay, and this is what that ISO date string is, right? So you're basically teaching the AI to understand relative dates like tomorrow, next Monday, and this Friday, and convert them into structured date formats that our backend n8n can work with. And so, and also in our system prompt, we're telling the AI when the customer asks about scheduling, use the availability roofing tool to check these available times. So the AI sees the word scheduling or when can you come, and then knows, okay, I got to fire this tool. All right. Now let's go move on to our third tool, which is book appointment roofing. And this tool fires when the caller picks a specific time slot. All right, so book appointment. And yeah, you want to be toggling it to JSON when you paste this in. And always click save. All right. So this tool is, so yeah, so let's, okay, so the parameters we have here are client name, which is the caller's name, the start date time, which is in ISO format, and this is the exact start time that they choose, and then the end date time, which is the end time, which is generally 30 minutes after the start time, which we can really specifically configure in our backend. All right. So here's the flow. The AI has already pulled the available slots using our availability roofing and has said, okay, I have 10 a.m., 11:30 a.m., and 2 p.m. available. The caller is going to now respond, okay, 2 p.m. works for me. Okay, at this point, the AI has now all the information that it needs. It has the client name, which it has extracted earlier in the conversation when it asked, what is your name? It has the start date time and it has the end date time, okay? And those might be looking like this, okay, in that ISO format. Now the AI is going to fire this book appointment roofing tool with those parameters, and then n8n will create the calendar event. So now you might be like, okay, why is he explaining this so much? Understanding how these parameters get filled is super, super important because this is what makes the whole system work. Okay. It's super important to realize that this AI is not guessing, but it's extracting structured information from a natural conversation and then formatting it in a way that n8n, which is their backend, can process. You're teaching the AI to be a translator between human speech and database fields, basically. Every time the caller asks to schedule an inspection or describes a roof problem, the assistant automatically triggers one of those three tools we just created. It's not guessing and it's definitely not improvising. It's it's just executing structured actions based on the parameters that it has collected. Okay, so now let me show you how all these three tools work together on a real call. All right, so just for reference, these are the three tools that are qualify roofing, availability, and book appointment. The caller might say, okay, I have a leak above my bedroom and it's dripping into a bucket right now. All right. Vapi's going to fire the qualify roofing and then it's going to capture the roofing issue type, which is an active leak. It's going to say issue severity, severe, and it's going to classify the property type as residential. Heard the keyword bedroom, right? And then the caller is going to ask, okay, can someone come and look at it tomorrow afternoon? Vapi's going to fire availability roofing, the tool we created with search date in ISO format, and then it's going to pull our actual calendar from n8n. n8n is going to then return the available slots, and the AI is going to read them out like, okay, I have availability at 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and 3 p.m. tomorrow. Then the caller picks a time, like, all right, 1 a.m., 1 p.m. works for me. And then Vapi's going to fire book appointment roofing with the client name, start date time, and the end date time, okay? And then finally, n8n is going to create that Google Calendar event with all the qualification details attached with the property type, issue type, severity, and then Vapi is going to package all this information and then send it to n8n, which is where the magic happens. All right, so now we want to assign a phone number to our agent. So go over here, click this phone icon, and create a new phone number. And you can use pretty much any area code. If you're in the US, you get 10 free numbers. Okay, let's choose one that it suggests us. And so, pro tip is match the area code to your service area so it looks local. All right, so now let's give it a label. So, roofing agent. And go ahead and attach it under outbound settings to the assistant that we just created. So, roofing agent. Click save. And so at this point, you now have a working roofing hotline. And if you call it right now, if you call this number right now, the AI will answer even though it's not going to book anything yet because we have not built out the backend. But it'll talk to you like a real receptionist, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. All right, so let's go ahead and build out that backend now. So open n8n, and now no need to worry, this is going to be blank when you open it, but here's the thing, you do not need to rebuild this workflow from scratch. Go ahead and go to the community and you're going to want to click on master roofing.json and then just hit copy C to everything in this file and then command V. Then the entire workflow is going to load instantly for you with the webhook, the routing logic integration, slot generation, booking, and literally everything already built and ready to go. Now, let me walk you through what each piece actually does because understanding this will let you customize it for different contractors or add features like SMS confirmations or CRM syncing. I'm going to explain this workflow in detail so you don't have to jump between tutorials to understand what's happening. All right, so let's start off with this webhook node. Okay, now it's actually really important because in order to connect our Vapi assistant to our n8n workflow, we're going to need this. And so go ahead to production URL, click this to copy it, go back to Vapi, and go to our agent, roofing agent, go to messaging, and right over here, you're gonna want to paste it right here for server URL. Okay. Okay, and while we're here, let's go down to server messages and just uncheck everything except for tool call. And this just basically dictates when do we call our backend. Right, click publish. Now we can go back to n8n, and so what exactly comes through this webhook every time a tool fires? It's basically a JSON object that's going to contain our message tool calls array, which is where Vapi packages the name of the tool and all the parameters that the AI has filled out. Then it's going to contain a part of the tool calls array, which is ID. It's a member of that array. And it's going to be called tool call ID, which is how n8n tells Vapi, I'm responding to this specific request. And then it's going to also have another member of tool calls, a function dot name, which is going to be the tool name like availability roofing or book appointment roofing. Then it's also going to have function arguments, and this is an object with all the parameters like your search state, that ISO string I showed you earlier, and and then it's also going to have your customer's phone number, which will be super useful to throw into our calendar event later. And it'll also have the artifact messages, and then it'll also have artifact, and then it's also going to have a member of message called artifacts. So, and this is going to store your entire conversation history, which we're going to need when we're booking because we're going to have to pull the qualification details from earlier in the call. So, okay, everything begins here, right? And if this breaks, nothing else works. So please, please, please make sure that your Vapi webhook URL matches this node exactly. You're going to set this webhook to post method. So I showed over here, it's going to be post method. And this path, you can pretty much change this to whatever you want. And the response mode is respond to webhook because we need to send the data back to Vapi. Okay, that's about it for the webhook. Now let's move on to the switch node, this route by tool. So this is routing based on tool name. So the switch node is like a traffic cop. It's going to read the tool name from the webhook, and then it's going to decide where to send the data. All right, so here's how it works. The switch node has 3 output paths, and each path has a condition. As you can see over here, try to widen this a little bit, okay? It's not, oh, there we go. All right, so basically it's going to check the value of this member I mentioned earlier, that function.name, and then it's going to see what it's equal to. So if its function.name is equal to availability roofing, we're going to go down that availability path, which you can kind of see with these arrows I've done, and I've made it nice and pretty for you guys. So it's going to go down this path, right? And secondly, if the function name is equal to book appointment roofing, it's going to go down that second path. And then for qualify, it's going to go down that third path, the qualification path. And I like to think about it like a train switching tracks. One incoming webhook can trigger different paths depending on what the caller is going to need. So if the caller asks, when can you come out? Vapi is going to fire availability roofing. The webhook receives it, the switch is going to read the tool name and then route it to output 1. If the caller asks for, okay, book me for 2 p.m., Vapi's going to fire book appointment roofing, and the switch is going to route it to output 2. And so this is the core routing mechanism of the entire workflow. All right, so let's move on now to the check availability. Okay, first step over here is getting the calendar. So when someone asks for availability and the switch routes the request to output 1, the first thing we need to do is check what appointments are already booked. And this is what this Google Calendar node does. And just a note over here, you're going to want to just connect it to your account. And also for the other Google Calendar node, you're going to want to connect it to your account as well. So this node is set to the get all operation, which means that it retrieves all events in a date range. And that date range is defined by 2 fields. It's the time minimum, which is set to the search date parameter from the tool call. So if the caller asked for availability on April 11th, that tool is going to be formatted in that ISO string, and it's going to be scheduled for midnight of the start of that day. Then the second one is time max, and then this is set to search date plus 1 day at the end of the day. So if the search date is April 11th, the time max would be the last second of April 11th, formatted as an ISO string. And you can see that mechanism happening over here, right, after and before. And so notice the time range, okay? It uses search date for the start and then search date +1 for the end. And this is key because it ensures it pulls the entire day without the time zone weirdness. Because Luxin handles the math, so you do not have to manually calculate the end of the day in Pacific time, or whatever time zone you need. And here's another key detail. This node has always output data enabled. So over here in settings, always output data, which means that if your calendar is empty, n8n will still return a valid result instead of breaking the entire workflow. So an empty calendar just means that all slots are available. And so why is this setting so important? Without this, an empty calendar would cause the entire workflow to stop because there would be no data to pass to our next node. And the output of this node is an array of calendar events. Each event has a start time, an end time, and a summary. Okay. This data then gets passed to the next node, which is our merge data node. So our merge node combines two things. First, it's going to combine the structured Vapi tool call with the date, time, and caller info. And then second, it's going to combine the Google Calendar results with the busy appointments. Both are needed and important before we generate the valid time slots. And the merge happens by position. So over here, you can see combined by position. And this just means that item 1 from the webhook merges with item 1 from the calendar to keep everything clean and predictable. And so why do we need both, right? This webhook is telling us what day the caller is calling about. And the calendar tells us what times are already busy on that day. The next node, which is a code node, will need both pieces of information to actually calculate the available slots. The merge node is set to combine by position, which means that if the webhook has one item and the calendar has one item, even if it's an empty array, they get merged into a single item with both datasets available. And this is super critical for the next step. All right, so this code node is the brain of the entire availability system. This is where we generate all possible appointment slots, we filter out the busy ones, and return clean available times. Let me walk you through the logic step by step while I go through the actual code, okay? So first is we extract the tool call data. And so this grabs message.toolcall0, which is the tool call object I mentioned earlier, and it's going to extract the tool call ID and the arguments. And so this tool call ID is critical because it is how n8n will tell Vapi, here's the answer to the request that you just sent me. The arguments are going to contain the search date, which is the day that the caller asked about. And then next we want to load our config, or our scheduling configuration. This code defines all the roofing scheduling rules in a config object, right? And so this has our time zone because I'm in LA, which is Pacific time. The workday start hour, this basically means inspections start at 8 a.m. The workday end hour, which means inspections end at 6 p.m. The booking cadence minutes, this is set to 30, meaning that each inspection is going to take 30 minutes. The buffer before and buffer after minutes are both set to 15, which means we need 15 minutes after and 15 minutes before each appointment reserved. And feel free to change all of this. If your crew works 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., just adjust the workday start hour and workday end hour. And if inspections take 60 minutes, change the meeting duration minutes. This is your workflow now. Third is we need to generate all potential slots. So this code takes the search date and builds the full workday range. It's going to start at 8 a.m., which is our workday start hour, and then it's going to create a slot every 30 minutes until 6 p.m. So for April 11th, it would go for 8 to 8:30 a.m., 8:30 to 9 a.m., 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., and so on, all the way to 5:30 to 6 p.m. And so this gives you every potential booking window for the entire workday. This code stores these in an array called potential slots. And right now, this array doesn't know which slots are busy, but it just knows all the slots that could exist. And so now we need to read the busy events from Google Calendar. So this code now looks at the calendar data that came from the merge node. It's going to pull all the calendar items and then filter them. And the smart part of this code is that it's going to ignore all day events. Why? Because an all day calendar block doesn't mean that our crew is unavailable. Maybe it's a company holiday or a reminder. This code filters for actual timed events with the start date time and end date time field. For each valid event, it's going to extract the start time and the end time, and then it's going to expand the event with buffer windows. So if you have an inspection booked from 10 to 10:30, the codes can add 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after. So the busy window becomes 9:45 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. And this is crucial because it prevents back-to-back bookings that leave the crew scrambling. And this code stores these expanded busy windows in an array called busy intervals. Okay, so now we need to actually filter the potential slots against the busy intervals. And so now what's happening is the code loops through every potential slot and then checks if it overlaps with any busy interval. Overlap logic is pretty simple. A slot conflicts with a busy interval if the slot starts before the busy interval ends and the slot ends after the busy interval starts. If there's a conflict, the slot gets removed. And if there's no conflict, then the slot stays. The code also filters out any slots that are in the past. So if it's currently 11 a.m. and you're checking availability for today, the code removes 8 a.m., 8:30, 9, 10, 10:30, and 11 a.m. slots because they've already. So what's left is an array of truly available slots. All right. So now what's up next is we need to format the slots in natural language. And so the remaining clean slots get converted into natural language. The code takes each slot start time, which is an ISO format like that over here I showed you, and then it's going to convert it into something that the AI can read out loud, like Friday, April 11th at 2 p.m. This basically uses JavaScript's toLocale string method with specific time formatting. And the code builds an array of objects where each object has two properties, right? Human readable, so like Friday, April 11th at 2 p.m., and then ISO datetime, which is that ISO format, right? The human readable version is what the AI says to the caller, and the ISO datetime version is what gets used when booking the appointment. And then finally, we return the slots, right? All right, and then finally, the code returns an object with two properties, which is tool call ID and then the available slots. The tool call ID is the ID from the original tool call, and available slots is the array of formatted slots. This gets passed to the next node, which then sends it back to Vapi, right? And that's it. That is the entire availability engine, and that's about 100 lines of JavaScript that replaces a receptionist manually checking a paper calendar. All right, now we have a reply with slots node. This is a respond to Webhook node, which sends the available slots back to Vapi. It formats the response as JSON with the tool call ID and array of available times. So here is the format that Vapi expects. I'm going to paste it in the notes here, right? And notice that over here, though, our result field is a stringified JSON object. Vapi wants the tool response as a string, not as a nested object. And the respond to Webhook node handles this formatting automatically when you set it to JSON mode and use the expression syntax. So Vapi receives this, parses the available slots array, and then the assistant's going to say something like, I have availability at 10 a.m., 11:30 a.m., and 2 p.m. Which works best for you? Now the caller picks a time, and then now we can move on to the booking path. So when the caller picks a time, the book appointment roofing tool fires. This switch node routes this to output 2, which goes directly to this Google Calendar node. This node is set to create operation, which means that it creates a new calendar event. Here's the fields that it fills out. So first is the calendar, and then start, and then end. So the calendar is usually your Google Calendar ID, which is generally your email address. And the start time is going to be the start date time parameter from the tool call, and the end is going to be the end date time parameter from the tool call. Now over here, our summary, which is going to be roofing appointment followed by the person's name. This is actually going to be the title of the event, and then the description, which is where it gets interesting. Okay, so this description field pulls data from multiple places. It includes the client name from the book appointment roofing tool call, the phone number from the webhook, right? And the property type from the qualify roofing tool call, and the roofing issue type from the qualify roofing tool call, and then the issue severity also from the qualify roofing tool call. Now here's the tricky part. The book appointment roofing tool only has the client name and time. It doesn't have the property type, issue type, or severity, so where does that data come from? It comes from the conversation history. Now remember how the webhook includes that message.artifact.messages I was talking about, which is the entire call transcript? The code parses through that entire array and then finds the message where the AI called the qualify roofing tool, extracts the arguments from that tool call, and then pulls the qualification details. And so here's the expression that does this, right? It's going to be for issue type. It's going to be this is what does it, right? And so this searches the messages array. It's going to find the qualify roofing tool call, parse the arguments, JSON string, and then extract the roofing issue type. And it's going to do the same for issue severity and property type. So by the time your technician shows up, they already know this is a residential property with an active leak in the master bedroom. The severity is moderate, and the customer said that it started after last night's storm. So this is an absolutely massive advantage because your crew isn't walking in completely blind. All right, so that's about it for this create node. Now we have our successful booking confirmation response. So now we have our successful booking confirmation response, right? So this is another respond to webhook node, which returns a super simple confirmation appointment successfully booked. And this format is the same as before. And so Vapi receives this, and then the assistant's going to say, okay, perfect. I have you scheduled for Friday at 2 p.m. You're going to receive a confirmation text shortly, and our technician will arrive or will call 15 minutes before arrival. Is there anything else I can help with? Okay. Now, the next step is the qualification successful, right? And so if the caller only describes the roofing problem, but doesn't book yet, the qualify roofing tool fires. And the switch routes this to output 3, which goes to the response webhook node. And so this node logs the qualification details, and then will return that simple lead qualification noted. And so the assistant might say something like, got it, I have all your information. When would you like to schedule an inspection? And then route it back to availability if the caller is ready to book. And so this path exists because not every caller wants to book immediately. Some just want to describe the problem and then get a rough idea of pricing or urgency. The Qualify Roofing tool captures all their details, so even if they hang up, you have their phone number, issue type, severity, and notes logged in the webhook execution history. All right, so now it's time to test this thing. Let's go over to Vapi and let's see what number we assigned it. All right, roofing agent. So it looks like I didn't save from earlier. You want to go to inbound settings and then click roofing agent and then click save. So now this just links that phone number to our agent. All right.
Thanks for calling Los Angeles Roofing. This is Riley. What kind of roofing issue are you dealing with today?
Yeah, there's like water gushing out of my master bedroom ceiling.
Oh man, that sounds really stressful. Let's get you taken care of. Can you tell me how urgent this is? Would you say it's an emergency leak? Also, is this happening at your home?
Yeah, this is it's happening at my home and it's pretty urgent.
Leak causing water to gush into your master bedroom home, and it's urgent. We'll prioritize this for you. I'll get you scheduled with one of our certified roofing specialists ASAP to inspect and start addressing this leak. What day and time work best for you?
Can we do tomorrow at 2:30?
We've got openings earlier in the day, like 8 a.m., 8:30 a.m., or 9 a.m. Any of those work for you?
Could we do noon?
Yep, noon is good. Want me to book you for 12 p.m. tomorrow?
Yeah, let's do that.
What What's your full name, please?
You can take it down as Adhiraj.
Be done for tomorrow, 12 p.m. to Independent Guest Week at your home. Does that seem works for you?
Sounds good.
You all the scheduled time, and we'll give you a call if we need any additional info.
Thank you. Okay.
And
All right. So there you have it, right? Here is the reality. Roofing companies are missing calls constantly. Someone's on a ladder in a truck or on another roof. And that missed call is a $10,000 job going to a competitor. This AI receptionist, which I just showed you how to build, answers instantly, right? No missed calls ever, it screens spam, and the AI can even tell the difference between a real leak and a telemarketer. It's going to collect critical details like the leak type, severity, property type, emergency status. It can even determine urgency, and stuff like active water intrusion gets prioritized. It checks real availability, so no more double booking or manual calendar checks, and it's going to book actual inspection appointments with all qualification details attached. It operates 24/7, and storms do not wait for business hours. This solves an extremely expensive problem for small and mid-sized roofing companies, and the setup cost is basically zero compared to hiring a full-time receptionist. And so that is the complete roofing AI receptionist with Vapi handling the voice layer, n8n running the logic, and Google Calendar managing scheduling. If you want the full roofing workflow JSON, the system prompt file, the tool configurations, and access to full build videos for other industries, everything is inside my school community. Download the files, duplicate the workflows, and customize it for your client, and launch a complete demo today. The link is in the description, and let me know in the comments what industry you want me to build out next, and I'll see you in the next one.